We don't try people in the media, we try them in the courtroom.
An online civilian group that catches child predators online is coming under fire from law enforcement and local attorneys. Hi, I'm Carissa Codell, and I'm a news reporter here in Springfield, Missouri for Ozarks First. Let's talk about what's been going on in the community here.
If these agencies were putting forth their full effort, that groups like mine wouldn't have to exist.
Citizen groups that take justice into their own hands to catch predators online is nothing new. Think about Chris Hansen's show To Catch a Predator. That's pretty much exactly what Operation SOAP is trying to do here in Southwest Missouri.
We have basically decoys on every social media app that's out there, without listing all of them, but these online child predators add our accounts, initiate contact, and then we just go from there.
People became heated online after a local police department posted about these vigilante groups, saying their behavior is dangerous and can undermine the legal process. Now, I spoke to one of the founding members of Operation SOAP who chose to be anonymous for his safety.
If you want to twist the words and definition of vigilante group, they could make it fit.
If you look up the definition of vigilante, it is a citizen group conducting its own investigations. It may call to mind other things when you just hear the word, but technically speaking, that's correct.
A lot of people in the community are backing Operation SOAP, saying the reason that police don't want to work with them is because it just makes them look bad. But when I spoke to our local prosecutor, he said that's not really the case.
They cannot, under the standards of those organizations, work with a citizen group conducting its own investigation outside of law enforcement. It's prohibited by their standards.
A few police departments in the area are members of the Cybercrimes Task Force in Southwest Missouri.
Law enforcement agencies can't partner with them. They can't turn them into agents of the state. That can create problems for a case. And under their task force standards, they can't partner with citizen-led groups for a number of reasons.
So essentially, members of the Missouri Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force are not allowed to partner with these civilian groups.
They can also do different things to make it so they can work with us lawfully, and they just choose not to.
They can still take tips, though. They just have to do their own investigation.
I feel like these groups are trying to kind of take matters into their own hands. Again, it's the idea of this vigilante justice, and realistically, in order to make something stick, in order to make something prosecutable in a court of law, they need to let law enforcement do their jobs.
Under Missouri law, there's a statute that says the quote-unquote bait has to be a minor or a police officer.
So when the statute was originally written, it had some language about it not being an offense that a police officer was posing as an underage person. As the law evolved, the Supreme Court basically said this is a poorly written statute, and they kind of unwrote that.
If the state were to try to pursue actual enticement of a child charges with a vigilante group as the victim, that's not something that would pass muster. That would be dismissed relatively quickly because it's contrary to the statute.
And while that's still part of the statute, it has changed.
If the person believes they're communicating with an underage person and they take a substantial step to committing whatever crime it is, then it could be prosecuted. Again, the key is the integrity of the investigation.
It now includes the act of attempting to commit the crime.
So even if the other person is not an actual minor or a police officer masquerading as a minor, prosecutors can still proceed under an attempt provision.
And people online became even more upset when the Lebanon Police Department, who made that Facebook post about the vigilante groups, ended up arresting a man for enticement of a child using the evidence from Operation SOAP.
The Lebanon Police Department basically spoke out against us and called us a vigilante group, which I don't entirely agree with. I prefer like investigative journalists, because at the end of the day, we just, we like to have a conversation with the child predators.
Now, I've looked through the court documents that explain the charges against this 29-year-old man from Lebanon. Now, I'm not going to go into details because they are graphic, but in these court documents, it says that this 29-year-old believed he was talking to a 14-year-old girl when actually it was this civilian group decoy. The messages did become sexual, and he ended up sending inappropriate pictures of himself to who he believed was a 14-year-old, and then agreed to meet up with her at the Springfield Mall.
The core group was just a bunch of dads, you know, and they, of course, don't want to see child predators around their area, so we just want to make them uncomfortable again, basically.
When I spoke to a local prosecutor and defense attorney, they both agreed the best way to help these cases is to just let law enforcement handle it.
My advice to these kind of vigilante groups is leave that sort of thing up to the police and let them do their investigation. Then it would be much more likely to be upheld in court.
And they do encourage citizens to file a report with the Missouri Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. You can do that online, and I'm going to have a link in this story on our website, ozarksfirst.com, where you can go and click that, immediately go to their website.
We have to provide due process to the defendant and convict them in a courtroom, not in a Facebook video.
We're really trying to go out here and break the negative perception of groups like ours, because we're out here trying to actually get charges, convictions, and instead of like physically assault people.
I want to hear your thoughts. Do you feel like these civilian groups are doing more harm than good? Or do you believe that they're needed and can actually help police and get some of these predators off the streets? I want to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments below.